Hey guys, it's me Karina, and today I am going to be making a video on how to become popular on Wattpad. So basically, I just really wanted to make a video about this subject particularly, particularly, that's how you say it, Karina, that's how you say it, but I really wanted to make a video about this because, I'm a Wattpadder. I am a really freaking obsessed with Wattpad, and I found it very difficult to get a lot of reads on your stories. It's just very difficult, and I wanted to make a video so people can more or less have an idea of how to get more readers. I'm not saying it's going to be a very easy and quick process, like in 1, 2, 3, it's easy. No, it's not. So I'm just saying it requires a lot of time, but it really does work. I mean, I've done so many things that I think has helped me get more reads, and I want to share it with you. I want to share it with you so you can be like famous over Wattpad and be like, "Oh my god, Karina told me this and this would help and she was right." Yeah, okay. So I need to stop. But I'm going to list all the things that I think are really necessary for you to get more readers on Wattpad. Now, I'm not saying you have to do all these things, but to me, if you do, I will guarantee you will get a lot of reads. I'm not sure how many, but I guarantee you will get reads. So sit back and relax and enjoy this video. So let me start off with the first tip that I have for you. The first tip that I have for you is to make your Wattpad page very awesome. Like, I don't know, go all crazy, like make the background all cute, have a cute little picture. It doesn't have to be you. It can be something that you like, for example, a character or something. It doesn't have to be your face, okay? We all know that nobody really has a real picture of themselves over the internet, so yeah. And make your biography, like for me, it's necessary because when I have fans read my book, I want them to know as much about me as I want to know much about them. So, I think that writing about yourself and what you like and what you don't like and all the things that make you special in your biography on your Wattpad page will really, because, if I'm not saying that this is like a necessary case in order to get readers, I'm just saying it would be a nice thing because if you do start developing a lot of fans, they more or less know who you are and can be able to say, hey, she likes this color. Hey, she likes this. She's different from most of the people that I know. So, yeah. Okay, tip number 2. And the second thing that I have to say is make up a new story, like not a new story, but a good story. A story that you would want everybody and anybody to read. Now I know this is a lot of difficulty, and I know you're like, hey, well, it's not that easy to make up a story, and trust me, I know it's really hard because so many people have put out so many stories out there, and it's very, very difficult to make up a story that isn't like a copied version of somebody else's story. I'm not saying that you're copying them, but, there's just been so many stories published. Of course, you would run into issues with it being similar or not similar in some way, shape, or form. But don't worry about that, because just focus on what you want and not focus about what other people would think. Just come up with a story that you would want to tell. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to make an amazing story. Just put something out there that you really, truly want people to know about. Make up a story that, that you'll be happy to read. And once you do, make sure you have a major conflict. You need to have a major conflict because that's the story. You need to have something building up to it. So that's just what makes up the story. So just don't make a story up if you don't have a major conflict. And then, yeah. So that's the difficult part. Step number 2, make up the good story. Now, step number 3. So step number 3, basically, in my opinion, there's so many things that you gotta do inside of the story itself to get many people to read it, but, in my opinion, you don't have to listen to me, but through chapters 1 through like 12 or something, you have to like smack people in the face with you have to smack people in the face with something interesting every chapter. You cannot have a boring chapter. Now, if you have a boring chapter, nobody will read it. Just saying. So, the first few chapters, make sure they're very, very interesting. Make sure every single chapter has its own interesting point. Because if you don't make it very interesting in the beginning, nobody will want to stick around towards the end. Now, once you have made it interesting, you can take a break and make it kind of, not that interesting, but not like plain out boring. And nobody will ditch your reading or your story because they're so far into it that they're willing to go through that, calming stage through your story, not that most action-packed stage. And yeah, that's just my tip. And my personal tip on tip number 4, I've realized that on Wattpad, people usually read the first chapter of your story more than any of the other chapters in your series. Now, I don't know if it's just me or if it's other people out there that have experienced this, but I find it because I have 2 stories on my Wattpad account, and they're both different in their own ways. But I've found out that in the first chapter, there's always so many reads, more than the other, more reads than the other chapters that I have put up for the story. And I believe that the first chapter, mainly people use it as a test chapter. If they enjoy the first chapter, they will keep reading, and you will get more reads. If the first chapter is not interesting, then they won't keep reading. So my tip is to make the first chapter super uber interesting. Like, smack people in the freaking face with the most hardcore, interesting facts. Now, don't use too much, don't spoil it, but make sure to have something really, really interesting for the first chapter, because people usually use the first chapter as a test subject chapter. So, yeah. 5th, make sure to use good grammar and punctuation. Now, it annoys me as hell because people on Wattpad constantly be telling you, oh, you don't know how to write. Sometimes I just feel like saying, yeah, can you just, pay attention to my story, not the way I write? But then again, I can't say that because people need to know how you write in order to understand the story. So, I mean, my grammar does not suck, but my punctuation is not the best. So, if you're like me, I would reread it. That's what I do. I reread my story before I publish it on Wattpad, and I fix all the little errors, and I try to fix it as much as I can. I put a lot of effort before I even publish it, because I know that whatever I publish is going to be seen by others, and I want people to keep on reading my story. So, yeah, I really, really, truly want more reads on my story. But you know what? I'm getting there. I think I'm on tip number 6. Tip number 6, I would have to say... Ooh, it's running out of battery, my, iPod thing. Okay, so I'm talking too much. So tip number 6, basically, once you get the punctuation and grammar out of the way, make sure to have a really, really pretty book cover. Now, I know that sounds completely messed up because there's this saying that says never judge a book by its cover, but sadly, people still do that. And I have 2 books next to me to use an example. So, I am a big fan of Hunger Games. So, this book, Catching Fire, as you can see, it's very pretty and it's very shiny and metallic, and it has this beautiful, interesting, colorful bird, and you just want to stare at this book all day, every day. So, make sure you have a really interesting book cover, and make sure to have the title of the story on it, your Wattpad username as the author below, or do something cool with your cover, because the more creative and cool your cover looks on your story, people will read it. And I know that sounds so messed up, but that's just how it works. So, this Catching Fire book's my favorite book ever. And then there's this Mockingjay book, and it's also metallic and shiny and pretty, and I just love it so much. I just want to stare at it all day. So you want to have the same effect with people. on your Wattpad book cover. You want people to freaking be like, oh my god, this cover looks amazing. I bet the story is also amazing. And yeah, so yeah, but don't pick a cover that has nothing to do. Like, don't pick a picture. Don't make a cover that's completely random, that doesn't even make sense with your story. For example, let's say you have a story about dragons and your cover is a picture of a boy and girl together in the middle of the field holding hands. That makes no sense because your story revolves around a dragon and you have two people in the middle of a field. Like, it doesn't make sense. So you're going to want to have something that resembles something in the story, because that's just, yeah. Tip number seven, make sure you join a bunch of clubs, and whenever they do these things where you can share your fantasy story, share your romance story, whatever that thing is, make sure to do that, because a lot of people go on there and you just get a lot of reads if you go and do that stuff. So do that stuff, because I've done that. Number 8, I've realized that this has helped me a lot. Talk to people on Wattpad. Talk to them. Go onto these little cafe chats, and I do that all the time. I go to cafe chats, I make friends, I get to know them, then I go and tell them about my story, and they go and read it, and then more people end up reading my story, and I figured out that that's the major tip in getting more reads. If you talk to more people will know about your story, and trust me, that's just helped me a lot, because I remembered I was stuck. I wouldn't get any progress whatsoever. Like, I would not get any more reads, and it was just stuck on the same number for days, and I was freaking out because I expected to have at least some progress, but I didn't. Then I started to talk to people, and I told them about my story. Then my number of reads went up increasingly by the minute, and I was like, whoa. So I'm just saying that tip really works. Let me see, what else? Oh yeah, number 9. The 9th tip is to use a lot of tags on your story. Like, freaking put so many tags up in there that you cannot count how many tags. Like, tags are the shiz, because when people search up for stories, your tags, if you put something like romance and somebody's searching up for a romance story, your story will show up because you're tagged, you tagged your chapter with the romance title, and people will search that up, find your story, read it, and you will get more reads and fans. But don't copyright. Like, don't put something that does not have, like, if your story, like, if there's something in your story, like, if it's sad, if it's a sad chapter, like, nothing but sad, don't put a tag saying happy, magical girl, fantasy adventure, because honestly that makes no sense, and that's just copyright infringement. Like, you don't want to have that happen to you, so do not do that. Put tags that make sense. Put tags that are inside of your story. The things that you tag in that chapter are actually going on. And tip number 10. Tip number 10, I would have to say, talk to a lot of authors. I know that I've, messaged some people and asked them to read your story. I know that I did that, but, I did that and they actually read my story, and I've got a lot of reads because of that. But you know what? But be nice about it. Like, don't post on people's Wattpad, pages on their message board saying, hey, read my story, because, I don't know, I find that to be kind of rude, and you're advertising on their shiz. So I would just message them, asking them to read my story. If they agree, then that's amazing and great, and I'd be so grateful for it. If they don't want to do it, then it's okay, and I'd kind of be like, well, you didn't have to be like seriously, it was just, I'm joking. But of course, I would be like, well, fine then. So I would find somebody else and ask them, and that's, and my 11th tip, I don't have 11 fingers, so 10, 11. My last tip would have to be super patient and do not give up. Do not give up. Whatever you do, don't give up. Do not. Do not. Do not. Okay? Because Wattpad will be very difficult with you. I know it was very difficult with me because I remembered there'd be days where I would just log in and there would be no progress. I'd be so frustrated. I wanted to kill someone. I'm joking. But I was so mad because nothing was happening. And I would see all these other authors and they had thousands and thousands of reads on their stories, and they had a bunch of votes and a bunch of comments and a bunch of fans and followers, and they were just popular out of nowhere. You know, well, not of... I was just like, oh my gosh, and I'm over here, and my story is not gaining any more reads. I'm not gaining anything. It's just like a flat line, like nothing is going on. But please don't give up. If you really want readers, you will need to fight for it. I'm not saying they won't come by, but it's not... You cannot just stick around and expect people to find your story out of the deep blue sky and automatically you'll get 100 reads by day 2 of you making your Wattpad account. You need to go out there and fight. You need to go out there and put yourself out there and make yourself known against the people. If you do that, I will guarantee you more people will start to know who you are, what your story is about, and you will get known. And that's just all I have to say. You have to try. You cannot give up because this is how it works. If you really want to be a freaking, masterpiece of writing on Wattpad and you want to be really well known, you have to fight for it. You can't just expect people to be like, hey, I found you out of nowhere because I have no life and your story is amazing, and you automatically get famous after 2 days. Just saying, it won't happen. Those were my tips in order to get popular over Wattpad. I really, truly hope that this helped. All I can say is good luck to you guys. I really, truly want you to get a lot of reads on your stories. I'm sure every single one of you that are watching this video have amazing ideas and stories that you want people to read. And trust me, I know I do too, but you have to fight for it, and you can't expect people to know you for you if you're not able to prove to them that you're worth to read. You're worth something. You're worth something to be looked at. So that's just what I have to say for this video. If you guys want to follow me on Wattpad, my username on Wattpad is Kawaii Naya. So, my Wattpad link will be down below, and you can follow me. I will follow back, and I will read your stories if you politely ask me through PM or messaging, whatever you want to call it. And I will respond to you for sure. I will read your story. I will comment and vote if you want me to, and I will give you feedback if you truly want it. And that's just my video. It's kind of like a 20-minute long video. I talk a lot. Should shut up because I need to shut up. So I love you guys. I really hope you found this video helpful. I hope you took in consideration of what I said. Please don't give up, and I love you, and I hope your dreams come true. Bye.